4, 3, 2, 1. Earth below us, drifting, falling, floating, weightless, calling, calling home. Second stage is cut. We're now in orbit. Stabilizers up. Running perfect.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another installment of Veterans Virtues. I'm your host for today, Sergeant Gibson, and for our 15th episode, we will be interviewing Staff Sergeant Baggy, Platoon Sergeant of Easy Company 1st Platoon. EP1 was just deployed in a scrim, and Staff Sergeant Baggy was obviously a big part of their success. Staff Sergeant, I want to start by congratulating you on a job well done.
Thank you, Sergeant.
So, looking over your service record and talking to you and knowing a little bit about your history, I know that this is not your first scrim, you've been in a couple now. So I want to start out by just, how did this scrim compare to some of your previous ones?
Well, first off, it's in a totally different game from what the first two scrims that I was in. This is my third scrim. The first two scrims were in Darkest Hour, which is in World War II, and it's an older game, so it's a little bit different, but in the main gist of things, it's rather similar, rather fast-paced, like in Squad, and yeah, what else to say, really?
So this was the first scrim that Easy Company's been in. Did you and maybe if you could speak for Second Lieutenant Barkley a little bit here, but did you two feel any nervousness being kind of the pioneers in Squad in its relation to scrims in the 29th?
Well, yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's always a little bit nervousness before a scrim, especially when you're the ones who are in the lead of preparing the platoon for the scrim. And we obviously had no clue on what level of expertise the opposing team had. So it was kind of a gray area there. But in the end, it turned out rather well.
Certainly. So what do you do not knowing how prepared the enemy is going to be, how good they are, or anything like that? What do you do to make sure that EP1 is the most prepared they can be?
Well, as soon as we know that we're gonna have a scrim, we're start to do as we did in earlier scrims. We scrim prep. So we basically play that map over and over till we know its ins and outs, while being blindfolded. And it has the downside of people getting bored of the map in the end, but we usually win the scrims then.
Certainly. So I guess my next question is, as a platoon sergeant, what is your role in the scrim?
Well, I mean, I would be in the second in command in the actual scrim. I would be the second in command. So if second lieutenant would go down, I would take over and lead the team and see to it that we win. And in the scrim prep, well, we overlook the plan and see to it that everyone actually does what we want to do and so on.
Did you feel that your preparation for this scrim, I mean, obviously from the result of the victory and everything, obviously it was effective, but did you feel that it was effective enough to your liking?
Yeah, I would say so. I got bored with the map, at least. I don't think I want to see it for a while.
I guess that's how you know it's working, if you're bored of it. You know you've done it enough. So, how have some of your scrims in the past gone?
Well, if I remember correctly, we have won all of them. Some rounds have been closer than others. For example, the second scrim where I was leading the scrim, or, well, leading it with not Captain Dashwood, We lost the attacking round, but won the defensive round. And in the first scrim, I think we won both rounds. Yeah.
Thinking back to some of those scrims, or even this scrim, what would you say was one or two of your most memorable moments from those scrims?
Well, I think the first scrim was the opportunity to be in a scrim, since I was a guest from another platoon. So I was really lucky in getting into it. The second one, I was basically preparing the platoon, and we actually won in the end, which was really nice. And the same thing here in the third scrim.
So in your scrims, have you always been more focused on getting ready for the scrim, being prepared since you were in platoon, and then obviously when you guested the scrim you weren't necessarily expecting to be in, so are there any sort of combat moments or anything like that that stand out in particular? Did you maybe get any neat awards or anything like that?
Actually, no. I have been, if you would say, really unlucky in scrims. I've never really done anything noteworthy in the scrims. I've just been there, been a guy with a gun. First scrim I actually died, I think, in the middle of the scrim. Second scrim I actually survived, but I didn't really see any combat, and the same thing here in the third scrim. I didn't see action at all. I mean, I saw in the defensive round in this latest scrim I saw a couple of guys and shot them actually, but nothing really noteworthy.
Well, that is a little boring, but I suppose when you are getting to, take your platoon that you work so hard with for so long into the scrim and just seeing successes.
I mean, in the end, when you are in leadership, you're not expected to do the heroic stuff. You're the one you are supposed to see to it that everything goes smoothly and people don't go and die in vain.
Exactly. Well, let's switch gears a little bit, since your scrim experiences, at least in-game, have been boring. I'm looking over your service record and I see that you have been awarded a Purple Heart, so can I get the story behind your Purple Heart?
Well, it happened during a company drill on Pitot and Bassam back in 2016. If I remember correctly, I killed a couple of Germans and took a Panzerfaust in the chest, and that same Panzerfaust killed a couple of Germans, so the guy that killed me team killed a couple of guys. And apparently I think it was platoon or company leader at the time, Captain Paddy, I think he was a first lieutenant back then, thought it was such a nice thing that he wanted to recommend me for a Purple Heart.
Very nice. So, continuing to look over your service record here, find some interesting stuff to ask you about. And I think one thing I really want to talk to you about is, and I've tried to talk to this with a lot of the people that have been involved in making new units through expansion and stuff, and you were the original platoon leader of EP1 when we first started Easy Company and came to Squad from previous games. So tell me a little bit about that experience and what it was like to be part of establishing the identity of a brand new platoon in a brand new game and figuring everything out and everything like that.
Well, I mean, I can't say that was an easy experience. But in the end, with the guidance of Chief Laggy, it went quite well. And further on with Tech Sergeant Deffield and First Lieutenant Fritz and Captain Nashwood, it has went really well.
What particularly was difficult about making the platoon? You said that there were difficulties.
All the other platoons, I mean, they had been there for ages. They didn't have a part in them, so it was a new experience for me. I mostly borrowed a lot of stuff from the platoons I ran in Baker. So, and then mended it with what the other platoon leaders and company leaders, the company HQ brought from Able. And yeah, it was a mishmash. I mean, we in EP1 was mostly from Baker, I think, and nowadays it's actually mostly people who has originally been Easy, so they haven't seen anything else. But in the end, I mean, we had veteran squad leaders, so it was kind of easy to, as soon as you learned the game, it was kind of straightforward in the end. We just followed what company HQ wanted us to do and grew our platoon culture a little bit around from what our experiences in both Able and Baker.
And as evidence from your success in the recent scrim, it has obviously been a success in growing the platoon and everything, and it's certainly been a journey over how long it's taken to get to this point for all the platoons in Easy Company, but it certainly has seemed to pay off with the success that you guys have now had.
Yeah.
So my final question to you is, this is how I like to end every video. I would like to see if you have anything to say to some of the newer listeners into the unit. Any advice that you might have, any comments, or just this is your chance to kind of say what maybe you want to say.
Well, I mean, I think the best advice is to be there, show up to drills, talk to your guys in the squad, and somehow you might end up being here for 7 years. And if an opportunity arises and you're interested in leadership, grab it.
Absolutely. Well, Staff Sergeant Baggy, thank you very much for your time and for talking to me and therefore to the rest of the unit. It was a great little chat we had. I enjoyed hearing about the scrims and everything. And
Thank you.
thank you, and have a great night.
Yeah, the same.